The following is a Podbeard production.
From the deepest bowels of your imagination.
Actually, he's from Canada there, bud.
From the famed Hotter Show Studios, this is The Hotter Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling out here today on episode 221 of The Hotter Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I have a brutal and earth-shatteringly awesome episode of the show here for you today, as I try to every single week here on The Hotter Show. Why is it brutal and earth-shattering, you may ask? Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I have the pleasure of bringing you the brand new EP from my boys in Beguiler. That's right, Beguiler, a little band ski from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada that I actually hit on the show, not the last episode, but the episode before. And they have just dropped a brand new EP that is just freaking intense. If you are a fan of deathcore and death metal or just heavier music in general, you're really going to dig this. However, I do warn you now, consider this your warning, if you're not a fan of that kind of music, we may be best see you next week, because it is not, if you're a fan of like pop or country, thank you very much for tuning in. But this episode is not for you unless you want to expand your horizons, but I do hope you do want to, because I think that everyone should listen to all types of music. But this EP, A Conscious Decline, is a 4-song banger from my boys in Beguiler. We had a great chat a couple episodes ago. If you did not hear that podcast, I do implore you to go back and listen to that, as it was a great episode. I had Jacob, Taylor, and Nolan on, which are 3 out of the 5 members of Beguiler. And basically what we're going to do here for today is I'm going to jump into each track on the EP. I'm going to play you the track in full, and then I will give my brief thoughts on the song, and then we'll jump into the next one. And that's kind of how I like to do things here on these Harder Show music reviews. It has been a while since I have done one of these Hottest Show music reviews, so I'm very excited. It's been, I think, almost about 10 episodes, so I'm very excited about it, and we're coming back with a banger. I'm actually going to have a couple of these in a row, so very much looking forward to that. Hope you guys are as well, and I want to thank you guys for your support in the last few episodes of the show, of course. I've had a lot of interviews, which is fun. I like doing interviews. Those are kind of my bread and butter, when I get to talk with someone, and we chat about a bunch of stuff, and there's been some just really great episodes of the show lately. So thank you very much to all my past guests, and you for listening. Thank you so very, very much. If you are possibly a listener on Podcoin as well, thank you very much, because my numbers on Podcoin have been great lately, especially the last 24 hours. I've seen quite a jump, which is always good. Big shout out to the crew at Podcoin. If you guys aren't familiar with Podcoin, they are a totally free app in which you can use to listen to your favorite podcasts like you would any other app. However, you will get paid to listen to those podcasts. That's right, folks. You will get paid to listen to podcasts. You earn Podcoin for every minute of a podcast, or every 10 minutes of a podcast, that you listen to, and you can then save those points up and then redeem them for different prizes, if you will. There's Amazon gift cards and Starbucks gift cards and some headphones, and there's lots of really cool stuff. And if you're someone who listens to podcasts regularly, it is not going to take you long. I listen to podcasts every day. There was a couple weeks there where I kind of had to jump back and forth, and I wasn't listening to podcasts as much as I usually do. But I actually have 2,000 Podcoin currently saved up, so I'm almost halfway to my first big goal of a $20 Amazon gift card, which I'm very, very excited about. Hopefully, I will hit that goal within the next couple of months. So very much looking forward to that. And if you are not using Podcoin, again, I do strongly implore you to go download that app. It is absolutely free. And if I say implore one more time on this podcast, I'm going to wring my own damn neck. So we're going to jump into this podcast here. My review of Beguiler's brand new EP just came out last week, A Conscious Decline. Let's get into it. So we're very excited about this. We're ready to jump into my review of Beguiler's brand new EP, A Conscious Decline, the homies in Beguiler. Again, if you have not heard my interview with them, I did a couple episodes ago, you really should go check it out, especially after listening to the EP. If you want to maybe learn a little bit about how the EP was recorded, a little bit of kind of behind the scenes stuff on the EP, you will definitely want to check out that episode. But Beguiler themselves, they're a 5-piece band from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. They kind of mix that, modern death metal, deathcore style with a little bit of kind of that old school, kind of traditional death metal influences, at least in my opinion. And as well as they kind of give a really unique take on it. There's a lot of saturation in the heavy music community, not so much in this community, but in a lot of other ones. When I was actually last week when I spoke with the guys from Zaftig, Mike actually spoke a little bit about that as well. How it's just, there's a lot of great bands, but then there's also a lot of bands that kind of sound the same. And what Beguiler bring to the table is they have a unique twist on it. They still bring all the traditional deathcore, death metal stuff with the blast beats and the blistering guitars and the heavy guttural vocals. And also now with this EP, they kind of add in some different vocal techniques. Jacob has really expanded his horizons on that. And lyrically, this EP is definitely a little more personal. That was something that he did tell us on when he was on the show. But as far as the band themselves, we have Jacob, who is the vocalist. We have Matt and Taylor, who are both the guitarists. We have Scott, the bassist. And then, of course, we have Nolan, the drummer. And man, just before I jump into the EP, they really killed it on this one. Their last EP, Born Under a Bad Sign, was actually recorded a couple years ago. And it was kind of one of those things where it was, I guess, kind of stuck in production hell, if you will. Which can happen, where you'll have the songs, then you have we record this, and then do this, blah, 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 and there was some lineup changes and stuff like that. So when they finally dropped that EP, they had those songs sitting around for a while. So they really wanted to kind of go ahead and get into writing and releasing a brand new EP, and they wasted no time. Basically, I think it was within a year from Born Under a Bad Sign, they have dropped this new EP, and it's definitely a step forward. It's not a huge departure. They still have that same kind of, that Beguiler sound, that you heard on the first EP that, you listened to and you're like, man, these guys are sick. I want to hear more stuff kind of in this vein. They still have that vibe while still taking a step in the right direction, giving something fresh and having some new stuff thrown in there. So I know you guys are really going to like this, and be sure to check the guys out on Facebook and Instagram. They are under Beguiler Band. I will also have the links to the band down below. Be sure to check them out live and buy a copy of this brand new EP. They also have some shirts for sale, and I think they have a little flag banner type thing, and as well as a patch. You can also go on their Big Cartel site, which I will also link down below in this description here. Be sure to just show them support because they're good dudes, and it was a lot of fun chatting with them, and we're just going to jump right into this EP because it is just a freaking banger. First song that we have here for you guys is entitled Fragile Mind, and it is just a brutal start to the EP. So crank it up, let's check it out. Man, whew, what a freaking start. Certainly showing off some growth and diversity in their style while bringing the heaviness right away, you know, having that clean guitar intro, really building up the hype and building up the feeling that it just starts like deep inside you and you're like, you know, it's gonna just be a gut punch, and they jump into that brutal riff and it's like, oh my god, crazy blast beats all throughout. Kind of more of that I would say it's hard to differentiate the real difference between deathcore and death metal. The way I always viewed it and the way it was always explained to me, it was more the guitar and vocal style. That was kind of the difference. Like the guitars are a little more kind of chunky. They're not as like kind of that classic, because like, you know, the death metal I'm used to was kind of that more classic stuff from like the 90s and the 2000s, you know. So to me, death metal is more like, you know, really dark, dissonant sounding chords, a little slower at times, but then also, of course, it has those blast beats and those moments of extreme, you know, fastness and speed, while the vocal style is definitely more guttural and lower. You know, there's not a lot of like, maybe some squeals and stuff like that, but not in the sense of how deathcore is, where, you know, they kind of have more of that mid-range, I guess, of a scream while still having those brutal gutturals. And that's kind of what Beguiler brings to the table. Structure-wise, it definitely feels a little more free to me, man. And like, Born Under Bad Sign was kick-ass, and there's a lot of great tunes on it. But like, you could tell in this EP, things just seem to just flow a little more, and it just fits a little more. And Fragile Mind really shows that off. And I mean, geez, if you told me there were 3 different vocalists on this song, I'd believe you. Man, Jacob just absolutely kills it on this whole EP, and beginning with Fragile Mind, you really see what he is going to bring to the table vocally and lyrically as well. You know, I don't usually like to speculate too much on lyrics on this show. I just feel that personally, you know, I don't know the craft. I don't know the artist's mind and what they're thinking. So I don't like to speculate on lyrics too much. But again, like I said earlier, I know for sure this was a way more personal EP for Jacob than Born Under a Bad Sign was. And you can really tell by his vocal performance. So absolutely kick-ass, brutal track. Great way to bring us into the EP. You know, the first song on the EP has to hook you. First song on an album has to hook you, has to leave you wanting more. And that's exactly what Fragile Mind does. Now as we head into the next song, which is actually, we heard this song, if you listen to my my episode with Beguiler, my interview with them, you did hear this song. It was an exclusive just for listeners of the Hotter Show. We got to hear it early. This is the second song on the EP, A Conscious Decline. This is Crutch. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
damn, it's like just straight gut punches and blast beats laden all throughout this fast and heavy track, man. When I had the guys on the show and I got to hear this song in its entirety, like, I was freaking blown away. You know, like, the guys were sitting like to my right as I recorded this, and like, you know, especially like because I've known Taylor for a while, I've known Nolan for a while, and I just got to meet Jacob that time, and you know, they know I'm not a crazy deathcore death metal guy. You know, like, I really like Beguiler, and I'm getting into more bands. Like, I got into Beguiler, it was around 2018 when they released that Born Under Bad Sign, I think it was about midway through 2018, give or take. And, you know, when they dropped that, I was kind of just really scratching the surface with deathcore and kind of really getting into it and seeing what was out there. And because, yeah, I never used to really get it. And then, like all metal, you know, I think it's, I kind of misunderstood it a lot. And don't get me wrong, there's some death metal that I'm just like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't, you know, but like, there's a lot of it that I'm like, man, it's just, it's a release, just like any other kind of metal. So when I heard that track, you know, I think they kind of knew like this is going to be maybe a little intense for him, but I freaking digged it. Like, I was just blown away. They really show off their kind of new style while still keeping that more traditional death metal style guitar work. There's a little more going on as far as not just kind of like the single note riffage. There's some cool kind of dissonant chords thrown in there, which I really dig. You know, Taylor and Matt absolutely killed it on this EP. And bass wise too, man, Scott kicks ass on this EP all throughout. And, you know, not to leave anyone else out, Nolan just freaking kills it, especially with this song, man. Like, fast as hell and just brutal. Like, I you know, right after the song, I have to like crank my neck because I'm headbanging so damn hard. And, you know, keeping their style while still evolving is so important for a band, especially a band like Beguiler. And again, Crutch really shows that off, and kind of the metamorphosis of the band, especially with Jacob. Like, he seems to discover like 2 or 3 new voices in this song alone. There's a couple moments where there's notes, I guess you would say, that he hits that I'm just like, what the hell is that? Like, it literally sounds like there was a demon coming out of his soul, and maybe in a way there was while he was recording this, but good God, just a killer track. Definitely one of my favorites off the EP. Crutches just kick ass. So the next song that I have here for you guys is the third song on this EP, and it is entitled Black Cloud. So crank it up, let's get into it.
I feel my lungs
Ah, what a freaking track. Jesus. While I recover from listening to that song, I want to take a quick second to give a big shout out to my man, Mr. Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you guys have been longtime listeners of the show, you know damn well how much Jaybird Digital Arts has done for this podcast. Any logos, social media stuff, any t-shirts I have or have had in the past were all done by Jaybird Digital Arts, and they do a kick-ass, phenomenal job. Jason will not rest until you have the best looking stuff. But he doesn't just do stuff for podcasts and content creators. He works with all types of different bands and musicians, businesses of all kind, performers, event promoters, athletes, and even families. He can edit photos for you. He can do so much stuff, guys. If you need posters, flyers, menus, brochures, physical banners, business cards, tickets, stickers, t-shirts, logo design of any kind at all, even video stuff he's getting into, and so much more, you need to contact my man today for a free quote. When you contact him, you'll be dealing with the man himself. No sales reps, no operators, none of that bullpucky, no runaround. You're dealing with the boss himself. Above par work at below par rates. Over 10 years experience. He will not rest until you have the best looking product on a great budget. I can attest to it myself. You know, there are times where I've messaged him the night before I needed something and it was really desperate situation, and he has made it happen because I swear to God, this guy doesn't freaking sleep. But don't just take my word for it. Go on his website, jaybirddigitalarts.com today, or check him out on Facebook under Jaybird Digital Arts. Take a look at all of his awesome and unique work. So think outside the box and contact Jaybird Digital Arts today. And always remember, folks, his business is successful when your business looks good. Now let's jump back in to my review of Beguiler's brand new EP, A Conscious Decline. God, Black Cloud, what a freaking banger of a track. Oh my good lord. I'm pretty sure my neck has recovered, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little kinky, maybe. I don't know. Man, there is something so satisfying about just such a diverse and just deep, dark sounding track. Structure wise, I think Black Cloud is the most unique on the EP in my opinion. Scott and Nolan really lay down kind of a groove and a bass for everything, while Matt and Taylor kind of create this dark and heavy backing for the lyrics. They kind of lay down that cover and fire, and it is just such a dark song to me, and it's very intriguing, and I'd be very curious on the lyrical content. You know, like I said, I know Jacob mentioned that this EP definitely means a lot more to him, and I think Black Cloud, it seems to be just a very dark song, and I'm very curious about that, and I dig it. Man, the breakdown bridge section guitar-wise is I think it's my favorite moment on the whole EP, which is funny because Born Under a Bad Sign, the song Born Under a Bad Sign, my favorite moment on that whole EP was also it was a guitar section. But that main riff for Born Under a Bad Sign, when they kick into the verse, forget about it. But actually, I guess it was not just a guitar part, but for this song, and you guys I'm sure know what I mean by that, when Matt and Taylor kind of trading off, and I think they're doing some kind of a toggle switch deal or something, man, freaking poetry. I love it. And I don't hear stuff like that in a lot of other kind of like straight deathcore stuff. So I really dig the fact that, again, I stress this, the diversity, and, you know, they're moving forward and they're growing. They're not just sticking to their, you know, just their roots going, oh, we're just going to play the same stuff over and over again, because no one wants to hear that. And I want to hear stuff like Black Cloud where it's, you know, it still sounds like them, but there's new elements brought in, and definitely they do that. A kick-ass tune, and without a doubt, my favorite on the EP. And now we come to the final track on the EP from my boys Beguiler, A Conscious Decline, which you can get anywhere right now, wherever you stream your music, or on YouTube, or you can contact the band today for a physical copy. I know I'll be getting mine very, very soon, as well as, you know, buy a t-shirt, you know, and support them. They're good guys and they make kick-ass music, and if you get a chance to see them live, I definitely strongly suggest that you do so. But the final song that we have here for you guys today is actually the single off of A Conscious Decline. So a lot of you who are listening to this probably have already heard this song, but we're ending off with just a song that literally will beat you to a pulp. and then drag you back for more, because it is just a brutal song. So crank it up one more time, guys. Get ready to mosh in your cars or your kitchen or your living room or wherever the hell you listen to this podcast right now. One more time, this is Beguiler off their brand new EP, A Conscious Decline. This is Cynical. Crank it up. Okay, so I'm pretty sure my spirit has left my body. I don't think I'm here anymore. I don't think I'm on this earth anymore. God damn. You know, I really like when something just kicks my ass so hard, because I don't know if like I'm not like talking a whole ton. You know, that's one thing that a couple of my regular listeners have always said to me, like, you know, we know when like you're really blown away by something because like you don't really have a ton to say. That's to you know, to some people it's like that's when you really know something really kicked your ass. That's not always the case, but you know, if I talk for 10 minutes about a specific track, probably didn't kick my ass as hard as some stuff. That's just the reality of the situation. Doesn't mean it's not good, but there's a difference between, oh, this is a great song, and that song just entirely kicked my ass. And man, this whole EP kicked my ass, but Cynical especially is one that just, you know, again, going for the best possible mixture of what I feel Beguiler are going for. Effortlessly mixing kind of that modern death metal and kind of deathcore feel with a unique twist that does set them apart from the rest of the pack. Vocally, you can hear everything that Jacob can do and has done on this EP in this one song. Kind of the deep gutturals, those kind of death squeals, the pig squeals, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the hell you call them. All I know is they're freaking brutal. And there's some moments on this EP where like I said, man, it sounds like Jacob is like, I don't even know, like he's like there's a demon coming out of his body. And after meeting him, it really like blows my mind. It's like he's like a really nice, like kind of quiet guy. And you know, it's the old joke of like, you know, metal singers on stage and it's like the Incredible Hulk, and then it's like metal singers off stage and it's Professor Hulk. It's just, and that is true with Jacob, but like, man, he really took it to another level on this EP, and so did all the rest of the guys, man. Taking nothing away from them. Nolan absolutely killed it on this EP. You know, he absolutely kicked ass with his drum work. Scott kicked ass on the bass. Taylor and Matt, guys, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm a guitar guy, you know, so I really pay attention to that. And guitar-wise, again, it's Beguiler. It's their style, but it's still, you know, there's some growth and there's some different stuff thrown in there. And it just, I take my hat off to you gentlemen. If I was wearing a hat right now, I'd take it off. But just a kick-ass freaking EP from top to bottom. You know, the guy's kind of laying down the cover and fire for Jacob a bit while he kind of spins this tale, so to speak, and really seems to speak from the heart. You know, it's not just a bunch of bullshit lyrics he threw together. You can really tell this is different. And the absolute best way to end off the EP, and if you guys have listened to my show and these Harder Show music reviews before, you know that to me, a great EP, all the songs on the EP need to be like, they need to be hits. They need to be singles. They need to be really unique in their own way. And when you start off an EP, you need to be hooked. And when you finish off an EP, you need to be feeling satisfied but wanting more. I equate it a lot to eating a good meal. Like the EP is kind of like, to me, an EP is kind of an appetizer. You know, you give me a little bit, and it's like, oh, geez, this is great. Oh man, what a great what's some great mozzarella sticks or whatever. I don't know the hell. Whatever you guys eat for appetizers these days. Okay, I don't know. I eat mozzarella sticks and deep fried pickles. Leave me alone. You're like, oh, this is great, but you want more. And after listening to this EP, you damn well know I want more. I want more tracks from Beguiler, and I know the guys are already starting to write. So that's very cool. You know, it is different from an album. At the end of an album, I want to feel fully satisfied, and I don't want to be left wanting more. You know, whereas an EP, again, I want that, you know, I need more, I want more, you know. So that's how I'm feeling. You know, I'm feeling hyped. You know, I probably should have waited to do this till like during the day and not at night like I'm doing, because I got to go to bed and get up for work tomorrow morning. But I'm like, you know what? I don't even care, man. I'll just blast that shit tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. when I'm getting ready for work, so I can like, you know, just get up and, you know, I'll have my tea and I'll you know, throw on some Beguiler and I'll be good to freaking go, son. I'll conquer the day tomorrow. Don't even worry about that. And, you know, to kind of finish off my thoughts on it, you know, Beguiler have made this metamorphosis, as I've talked about a lot in this review, and this growth to, you know, still staying true to who they are and kind of their roots of that kind of more deathcore style, while bringing in some brutally raw, heavy moments that are mixed with some uniquely structured, kind of more traditional modern death metal style stuff, capped off with some more meaningful lyrical content, make this EP a huge success in, the career of Beguiler, but also, the future career of Beguiler. Like, I think with an EP like this is a step in a great direction for the band. I cannot wait to hear their next offering. I think it's important with bands, it is true. You hear people say, you're only as good as your last release. It's like anything creative, man. You're only as good as your last song. You're only as good as your last video. You're only as good as your last podcast. Doesn't matter. You're only as good as the last thing you release. So if you release an EP or a single and it's great, it kicks ass, and then you release the second offering and it's kind of meh, that sucks. There's a lot of bands that have suffered from this, where they release a huge first album and it sells, well, not so much anymore, but back in the day, especially, they would have an album that would go platinum, for example, and then they would release the second album, and it's not that it wasn't good, but it didn't have the same vibe or didn't have the same hype as that first record, and they spend their careers kind of chasing that, and I remember this album, yeah, I remember this single, yeah, right on. It's kind of like that one-hit wonder syndrome, or the that sophomoric debut from a band where it's like, okay, they released their first EP or album and it was pretty good, but now let's hear the second one, and it's like, aw. Well, their first EP was great. We don't get that with Beguiler, and that's why I'm so excited, because again, with metal music and heavier music, it can be hard to kind of have growth, because a lot of, the quote unquote elitist metal fans, and especially in the deathcore community, I don't find that too much. Like, I find, maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but I'm not too much in that community as much anymore, the metal community as a whole. But from what I see in my world, which is me kind of on the outside looking in with respect and love for the community, and, trying to have fun and, promote bands in my own way and have fun talking to them and doing these reviews and stuff like that, I see a lot of support and love. I don't see a lot of hatred and elitism as much as I used to, especially. But there definitely is that. So it's almost like you're afraid to grow. And Beguiler don't have that. They're not afraid. They do whatever the hell they want. And they proved that with a conscious decline. And boys, horns up over here, gentlemen. What a freaking EP. Good Lord almighty. I literally think my soul has left my body. I gotta go find my soul because it's gone. I don't know where it went, but it is absolutely freaking gone. And I hope that your soul is intact and that you enjoyed this episode of The Harder Show today. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me that you took the time out of your day to listen to this idiot ramble on. However, you did get to hear some kick-ass music, so that's a plus. That is a plus. And shout outs again to the boys in Beguiler, Taylor, Nolan, Jacob, Scott, and Matt. Thank you very much for the three guys at least coming on my show. Scott and Matt, I hope I can get you guys on the show sometime. That would be very fun. And thank you guys for the support and allowing me to review this EP and, of course, making such a kick-ass EP. And again, thank you for listening. It means the world to me. If you are looking to possibly further support The Harder Show, please drop a follow or subscribe or like or share. You can check out The Harder Show as well on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at The Harder Show. We also have a website, podbeannetwork.com/The Harder Show. Podbean Network is my podcast network. We have some great stuff on there, so be sure to check those out. My other podcast, Mics and Beers, which is a fun kind of drinking video podcast I do with a couple of my longtime buddies, and as well as a bunch of other great content on there, with more on the way as we get back into the school year, so to speak. You will see some people come back. My boy Dark Horner will be back at it doing some game streaming again, as during the summer when he is not at school. His internet is the shits, so I can very much relate to that. And speaking of internet being shit, one thing I quickly wanted to touch on before I go, a couple people did message me saying that they were excited about my move and so forth. And thank you guys very much for that. I'm very excited as well because one reason is my internet will not be shit anymore. So that's very cool and very exciting. And I'm hoping that kind of opens up some more avenues for the show and doing a bunch of other stuff. But also, with me moving, as I did mention, I'm going to be taking some time off. I have not fully decided, so to speak, or figured out exactly how much time it's going to be. I'm hoping it's only a week. I'm really hoping it's only a week. But the reality of the situation is I think I'm going to need to take 2 weeks off because of the actual move. And it's really funny that this is how dedicated I am to this. And some people think it's hilarious, and maybe it is, but this is how dedicated I am to having weekly content. The fact that, the 1 week in August, I'm literally not even going to be in my town. So I can't put up an episode even if I tried. But the next week I'm going to be like right in the middle of packing and moving my current apartment to my other apartment. And like, I'm going to have no time to even put up a podcast or do anything. And the fact that I'm still kind of like, maybe I can, that's just how dedicated I am to my craft. And it's kind of hilarious. But, so we're probably, so you're going to get obviously this episode today on August 1st. I definitely am going to have one next week for you guys. I'm very excited about that. The 15th, definitely you will not get a new episode. For sure. The 22nd, I haven't fully decided. I'm hoping I can drop something that week. But if not, you will for sure get a brand new episode of The Hotter Show on the 29th of August. And then from there on out, everything should be all, all fluffy ducks. I think we should be good to go. But if anything changes, I will let you guys, my loyal listeners, especially if you're still listening to this podcast, know if anything changes. Because I tell you guys absolutely everything. And I'm very excited. Life's freaking good, guys. Life's good. And it's going to get stressful. And there's going to be moments where I'm going to be like, man, screw this podcast shit. I ain't doing this no more. Dirt. And then 30 seconds later, I'll be like, nah, I do the podcast. I just had this conversation with my wonderful, beautiful fiance the other day. In the sense of, I had a day where I got to see it was a day off. And for the first time in a while, I took a full day I didn't really do anything I didn't want to do, so to speak. Let me explain what that means. On my days off, a lot of times I'm running errands, I'm doing stuff like that, doing adult shit, and I literally took a day. I saw my boys, I got to spend a little bit of time with her. I got to hang out with my cats. I got to do a little gaming. I got to go record a podcast. I got to edit that podcast. I got to do my creative shit, and I just felt really good. And I went, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, podcasting to me is not just something I do as a hobby. It's not something I do to try and, I get famous and that kind of crap. Because let's face it, guys, at this point, it ain't going to happen. And I'm cool with that. It's not why I do this show, why I've been doing it for over 221 episodes. Basically every week for the last 3 years, you've gotten content from me. And, there's been times where I have not rested. I have, gone on like an hour's worth of sleep for a full day of work and other stuff, just so I could have this episode out on time, or just so I could record an interview with this person who's been hard to get, or whatever, I have always put the podcast first in a lot of ways because I love doing it so much, and it is a release for me. So, the fact that you guys take the time to listen to my creation really just means the world to me. And, I'm a very sentimental guy, and I apologize, blah, 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 bullshit. It is being sentimental again. Ha, 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 ha. But I just always like to express myself in that way. And especially once we move, I'm hoping I can take a little more time to try and grow the show a little bit more and kind of take that next step for the show. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And if I just keep plugging along, doing my thing, and just doing this just strictly for fun, I am totally okay with that as well. And I hope you guys are, and I hope you've hit that subscribe button and all that fun stuff. And I hope you have an absolutely kick-ass rest of your day and week. And I'll catch you next time on The Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.